So I'm in Edmonton right now because I went to the Oilers Blues game last night with my dad. And hey, can I just say, by the way, great game day experience at Rogers Place. They do it right. Like, there's just no way around it. The game day experience at Rogers, going to go see an Oilers game, is second to none. It's amazing. Great job by everybody on the part of the Oilers. Loved my game day experience there. But today, we're going to talk about if the Oilers are in big trouble. Now, when I say this, of course, I don't mean miss the playoffs type of big trouble. Obviously, McDavid, draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins, Hyman, they're going to carry the Oilers to the playoffs on their back based on offense alone, like it's been the past couple of years. And look, I was one of the first people, especially last year in the playoffs, to come to the defense of the Oilers' defense. That was a mouthful. I was the one who came up and brought up arguments saying, hey, the Oilers' defense is not as bad as everybody says they are. Guys like Ceci are pulling their weight. Bouchard is developing. Barry is not as much of a liability on the D side as people like to say he is. But this season, I'm talking issues here. And of course, they're going to make the playoffs, like I said, but it's going deep in the playoffs and beating the really good teams. That St. Louis team yesterday is not fantastic. They're a good team, but they are not fantastic. And Darnell Nurse with some key turnovers with 18 seconds left in the game, and the Oilers were on a power play. And Nurse somehow just has a complete brain fart, turns it over. The Blues tie at 3-3 with 18 seconds left and end up winning it in overtime. And all the Oilers games I've watched this year, I don't want to say Darnell Nurse has been terrible. And I don't want to single out just him because he's not the only problem. But the problem is not that he's not playing like a $9 million defenseman, because don't get me wrong, he's not. But then again, how many guys who have that type of money actually do end up playing up to it? But the problem is he's not even playing up close to that. Like, for a guy being paid $9 million, if he takes that much up of your payroll, then you need him to at least be a very good number two every single night. And Darnell some nights is not that. Sometimes he ends up being a liability to the point where on the phone call line on the radio show after the game, multiple callers called in to say, hey, it's time to sit Darnell Nurse. And of course, the response to that is, no, you can't sit a $9 million defenseman. But it's something that you have to look at, where you have to evaluate here. Okay, you're not going to sit him, but what can you do here to get something good out of the guy? I mean, at $9 million, this is a big issue for the Oilers if this doesn't get figured out sometime soon here. Because the problem is that that's valuable money that could be used on either multiple defensemen or on a number one defenseman that actually is legit instead of Darnell Nurse. And again, he's not a bad player. He's not a bad defenseman. But if you have that much money allocated to him, then that is going to affect your decor. You can't pay 2, 3, 4 defensemen $9 million. You can pretty much only pick one guy to pay that. And if you do end up paying one guy that amount of money, you have way less to give your other dudes on defense to try to rein this thing in. And I'm looking at the type of guys that they have because they've paid Darnell Nurse this contract. And I'm sorry, this season, Ceci, he hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been the same player. Broberg clearly isn't ready for the NHL-type minutes that he's getting right now. Bouchard's been relegated to the third pair because he's a good offensive defenseman. He's got a Bouch bomb back there, but other than that, there's not much there from Evan Bouchard as well. There's an issue on that back end, which I'm sure has been heard often before in Edmonton, in Oilerland, but when Darnell Nurse makes $9 million, there is not an easy solution out of this. This could get bad, okay? If Darnell doesn't figure it out here, I mean, Good luck winning a cup, Edmonton. Seriously. Like, you can do a lot of things on the back of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You cannot win a cup if your $9 million defenseman is playing like a number 3 or a number 4 who's scared to make a mistake with the puck. Like, that is an issue, and a big one at that. And it's something that I've kind of been hearing whispers about in Oilerland, but the more I've been watching, the more it's slapping me right in the face, where when they win, it's because Draisaitl and McDavid were just too phenomenal for them to lose. But they can't do it every single night. And they have the role players. You can't blame the depth on offense anymore. They're getting depth scoring from the bottom 6, the middle 6 now. You can't blame it on that anymore. But the defense is something you can definitely take issue with, especially because they don't have a Shesterkin back there to rein the fort in. They don't have a Vasilevsky back there to cover up the D's mistakes and steal a few games. Like, Skinner is a good goaltender. He's not a steal games type of goaltender, stand on his head and steal a bunch of games goaltender. He needs some help back there. This is an issue. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. What you would do to try to fix this right now. Because $9 million, this is not going to work for Darnell Nurse. I mean, looking at him as your best defenseman, it is not going to work. Let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, especially if you want to see more Oilers content. See you in the next one. Peace out.